What if the most shocking part of the story is not that Song Hye Kyo was seen in tears, but that the world immediately decided who must have caused them? The scene, as it has been described online, feels like the opening of a melodrama. A private moment, a serious conversation, a glimpse of emotion on a face known for composure. And then almost instantly a narrative forms. A shocking argument, a confrontation, a clash between two of the most recognized names in Korean entertainment, Song Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho. If you're still watching, subscribe. Let's get the story started as the world of your favorite celebrity unfolds.
Stay tuned.
In the language of rumor, a single emotional moment becomes a full script. A tired expression becomes heartbreak. Moist eyes become tears of conflict. A serious conversation becomes a fight. By the time the story reaches millions of screens, it feels detailed, dramatic, and strangely complete. But how did it begin? Some say it started with a brief sighting, a moment where Song Hye Kyo appeared emotional during a schedule. Others claim it was an unnamed insider whispering about tension. Still others point to vague social media posts that never directly mention names but were quickly connected by fans. This is how modern myths are built. Not from one lie, but from many assumptions stacked carefully on top of very little. Imagine the documentary lens recreating the moment. A long day of filming or public appearances. Bright lights. Repeated interviews. The exhaustion that comes from living under constant observation. Even the strongest public figures have human moments where emotions surface. A reflective mood. A quiet pause. A faraway look. For someone like Song Hye Kyo, whose career has spanned decades, pressure is not new. She has carried major productions, global endorsements, and public scrutiny for years. With that level of responsibility comes fatigue, introspection, and sometimes visible emotion that has nothing to do with conflict. But the internet rarely accepts simple explanations. Linking her name with Lee Min-ho adds instant intrigue because their names already carry history in rumor culture. They are two stars people often imagine in the same narrative, even without confirmed personal ties. So, when emotion appears, the story writes itself. An argument must have happened. A disagreement must exist. Someone must be at fault. Yet real emotions do not always come from dramatic causes. They can come from stress, from personal reflection, from unrelated life matters invisible to the public eye. The voiceover softens here. There is something deeply human about wanting to understand why someone looks emotional. Fans care. They feel connected. They worry. But care can sometimes turn into storytelling when answers are missing. And storytelling, once public, can quietly become pressure on the very people it discusses. Lee Min-ho, known for his calm and measured public image, has rarely been associated with public disputes. His career shows a pattern of restraint and professionalism. Attaching a dramatic argument to his name, without evidence, says more about rumor culture than about him. The deeper question is not what happened between two celebrities. It is why audiences are so quick to frame emotion as conflict. Cinema has trained us to see tears as the result of confrontation. But life is wider than film. Emotions can come from gratitude, nostalgia, exhaustion, or personal reflection. Without context, assigning a cause becomes guesswork. And guesswork, repeated often enough, starts to sound like fact. The documentary frame widens. Two major stars moving through demanding careers. Tight schedules. Limited privacy. Constant lenses. In such an environment, even a quiet emotional moment can become a global headline detached from its real origin. What really happened may be far simpler than the dramatic version. A long day, a personal thought, a private matter unrelated to any rumored connection. The truth often lacks the explosive quality that headlines prefer. Still, the phrase "what really happened" lingers because people crave resolution. They want a clear cause, a defined story, a beginning and an end. But sometimes there is no dramatic arc. Sometimes there's just a person having a human moment in an inhuman spotlight. The camera begins its slow pullback. Song Hye Kyo continues her work, her composure returning as it always has. Lee Min-ho continues his path, focused on projects and public duties. Neither confirms the narrative, because there may be nothing to confirm. And silence, in this case, may not be secrecy. It may simply be the absence of a story. The final reflection settles like the closing line of a documentary. Perhaps the real shock is how quickly the world turns emotion into entertainment. How quickly it assigns causes to tears it does not understand. And perhaps the most honest ending is this. Not every tear is about love. Not every rumor is about truth. Not every story belongs to the public. The screen fades on a quieter reality. Two professionals. Two separate lives. One internet eager for drama. And somewhere between them, a simple human moment that may never have needed a headline at all. And as the rumor continues to circulate, something subtle begins to change. The story no longer focuses on what was seen, but on what people think must have happened behind closed doors. Because once the idea of a shocking argument takes hold, the imagination fills in the missing scenes. Voices are invented. Dialogues are imagined. A private conversation becomes a dramatic confrontation in the public mind. The narrative grows more detailed, even though no new facts emerge. This is the quiet evolution of speculation into folklore. The documentary lens turns away from the headline and toward the environment that creates it. An industry where stars live on schedules that would exhaust most people. Early call times. Late-night shoots. Emotional roles that demand vulnerability. Public appearances that require perfect composure regardless of personal mood. Under such conditions, emotions are not rare. They are inevitable. Song Hye Kyo has built a career portraying deep feeling on screen. She has cried in scenes that moved millions, delivered performances that lingered in memory, and carried stories that demanded emotional intensity. For an actor like her, the line between emotional expression and emotional assumption can easily blur in the eyes of the audience. A reflective moment off-screen can be mistaken for a dramatic one. Meanwhile, Lee Min-ho's image has long been associated with steadiness. Calm interviews. Controlled public appearances. A demeanor that reveals little beyond what he chooses. Pairing his reserved persona with a rumor of a heated argument creates a contrast that feels cinematic, which is exactly why it spreads. But cinematic does not always mean true. Consider how quickly a narrative forms when two familiar names are involved. Their histories, their past rumors, their shared industry circles all become ingredients. The story feels believable not because of evidence, but because it fits a pattern people recognize. Yet patterns can be misleading. The voiceover grows quieter, more reflective. There is an unseen cost to these narratives. Every rumor adds weight to real lives. Families read these stories. Colleagues see them. Future collaborators notice them. What begins as fan curiosity can become a persistent shadow that follows a person beyond a single headline. And still, the cycle repeats because attention is powerful currency in the digital age. But step back once more. What remains verifiable? A moment of visible emotion. Nothing more. No recording of an argument. No direct quote. No credible confirmation linking that emotion to Lee Min-ho. The connection exists mainly in assumption. And assumption is not evidence. In documentary storytelling, this is the part where the narrator allows silence to speak. Where the audience is invited to question not the people in the story, but the story itself. Why do we rush to connect dots? Why do we frame tears as conflict? Why do we prefer dramatic answers over simple uncertainty? Perhaps because uncertainty feels incomplete, and people crave closure. Yet real life often leaves questions open. The camera slowly widens to show the larger picture. A bustling industry. Countless professionals working behind the scenes. Two major stars continuing their careers, attending schedules, preparing roles, meeting fans. Life moving forward, unaffected by the narrative swirl. If there was a shocking argument, it remains unproven. If there was none, the rumor still served its moment of attention before fading into the archive of past speculations. The final reflection lands gently. Not every emotional moment has a public explanation. Not every silence hides a secret. Not every headline captures a truth. Sometimes what really happened is simply this. A human being felt something in a demanding world. The internet tried to write the reason, and reality continued quietly, without consulting the script. The screen fades on a calm, steady image. Careers continuing. Lights turning on for the next project. New stories waiting to be told on screen rather than off it. And the lingering thought remains. The most powerful stories are often the ones lived privately, not the ones imagined publicly.